This is Costa Rica, a family vacation that Diane and I and Barry and Karen took back in 1978, turning into 1979. We were there right over the New Year's vacation, and we had a great time, and we're flying down right now to Miami. And from Miami, we flew to Costa Rica on Laxa Airlines. There's Diane getting ready for the trip, and there's the plane. Oh, that was an oldie but a goodie, I tell you. It was a jet, however, and it looks like about a DC-9 or something like that. But there we flew from Miami to Costa Rica on Laxa Airlines, and we arrived there in the capital of San Jose and stayed at the Hotel Irazu, which is named after their prominent volcano and a sight to behold there in San Jose. Now, this is another of my continuing series of family home movies that I took from 1956 to 1980. And you'll notice that the color and everything is very good. This is all on Kodachrome film. Now I'm using my Bauer Super 8 movie camera, which was a very, very good camera. And boy, it's amazing how long these films last. And when it came to taking movies, I was not shy. I love to take movies, and so therefore we let the camera roll. Here we are at a house of worship in Costa Rica. Worst thing that happened to us right there, we're going to take a trip over to the volcano. And worst thing that happened there was that Diane left all her makeup at home in Phoenix, and she discovered that when she got to Costa Rica. Now, if you take a trip to Chicago and you leave your makeup, well, that's okay. But if you leave your makeup at home when you go to Costa Rica back in the 1970s, it was not easy to get the kind of makeup that she was used to getting in the United States. So we did suffer a little bit of trauma there. There's Karen, and there is the volcano Irazu. The first known volcano was recorded there in that big spot in 1723, historically. They had a big one in 1963 that lasted until 1965 and started when President John Kennedy from the United States went to visit, and he went down there, and bingo, there goes the volcano. Now, the most recent volcano that happened right there at that location was actually after we visited, which was in 1994. So here we are staying at a lovely spot, and we're all eating because we're getting ready for our trip to a place way out in the middle of nowhere, a place way out in the middle of the jungle. It was a spot called Ave Oro, which was a place, it was like, I guess you'd call it like a ranch. And they had no electricity. They had absolutely no mechanical power things whatsoever. They had no method of transportation except for horses and oxen and things like that. And we were leaving on New Year's Day from Costa Rica, early in the morning on New Year's Day. And but in the meantime, we're staying at this hotel in Costa Rica, which was a very nice place, had a big pool, and we got to see all the sights of the capital of San Jose. And we had a great time, had a lot of fun. Everybody had a good time. Well, of course, I say that. Maybe the kids didn't have a good time. Maybe Diane didn't have a good time. I'll tell you one thing, I had a good time, so I'll just say that. I had a good time. Now, this is 78 going to 79, so my son was about 12 years old, and my daughter was about 10 years old. So they're getting older now. And, oh, here we go. Now we're getting ready. We take this small plane from San Jose, Costa Rica on New Year's Day morning. And I'm thinking, gee, I hope that the pilot didn't celebrate too much last night, because he has to land this plane on a landing strip in the jungle, believe it or not. Kids got real sick while we were there, and I'll tell you that story in a couple of minutes. But anyway, we're going over the jungle in Costa Rica to this place called Ave Oro, which was owned by a fellow by the name of John Tressimer, who lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he owned this place, and he was trying to develop a tourist business, but it was very difficult because nobody really knew much about it. I found out about it through a friend. There's the landing strip right there where we landed. Not much of an airport, huh? This is called Punta Uvita, U-V-I-T-A. It's right along the Pacific coast in Costa Rica. And there's a plane. It's leaving us at Punta Uvita, and we're waiting in this little tiny village while the people from Ave Oro come down the coastline and pick us up. How? With jeeps or anything like that? No, with horses, because that's the only way you can get there. You can't get there via any modern modes of transportation. You can only get there along. You have to take horses along the coastline, which was an amazing thing. So there we are. We got our horses. They strapped all the luggage on the horses. You can see the suitcases. And that's how we got there, right along the coastline. Absolutely incredible. This little place called Ave Oro. No electricity, no running water. We had to go down and bring buckets full of water up to our place. This was, I tell you, absolutely amazing. It was, talk about rustic, and it was way out there in the middle of the jungle, but close to the water, and it was quite an incredible experience. Now, as we were riding on our horses to Ave Oro, the guide stopped and he said, "This was here is a stream that's going into the Pacific Ocean, and there are alligators here. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine was eaten by an alligator, and the only thing that remained of him was a tiny piece of his intestine, and that was all we found." I thought, oh boy, that's nice. I hope hope everybody watches out for alligators. But anyway, we got the kids there, and they were real sick. But there are no doctors around. They had the flu or something. I mean, they just looked green, and they were throwing up and just having all kinds of problems. And so they said, well, we ought to call for a local witch doctor. So we called for a witch doctor, and this guy comes over, and he looked I mean, he didn't look like an African kind of witch doctor, but he had some odd things. He had a little bit of ointment that he rubbed on the kids' elbows, and he chanted while he did that, and within a half an hour, they were absolutely cured of whatever they had. Amazing. The witch doctor cured my kids, and they were healthy after that. Look at, there goes Karen. She's going somewhere. She's not sick anymore. Maybe that is the outhouse, because we had no indoor plumbing. I think that's what that is. I tell you, this is real rustic, and this is in the middle of the jungle. And this is right at the beginning of 1979 in Costa Rica. Now we're getting out into the jungle, and I thought it was important to take movies of some ants. I think those are jungle ants that are ready to absolutely strip the jungle and maybe strip us too. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, it was a beautiful beach. There was hardly anybody there. Absolutely incredible. Lots of wildlife. Like you can see that bird right there. They also had huge iguanas. There's another bird up in the tree. Those beautiful, colorful macaws and birds. Absolutely beautiful. There were monkeys in the trees. It was an absolute jungle setting. There also were odd dishes that we had because they supplied the meals to us there. And we ate a lot of fried plantains. You know what a plantain is? It's kind of like a banana, only it's a little smaller. And they had fried plantains and fried cheese. And this was their dining room when we were the only guests there, as a matter of fact. So this is outdoors, and we're eating. And they had, of course, they had a lot of chickens to get eggs, and to get chickens for that matter. And they also had a lot of unusual species, like, for example, there is a peacock right there, mixing in with all the hens and the chickens. And there's a little calf that Karen is petting. Yes, very nice. Taking a trip now through the jungle. And there were a lot of bugs, as a matter of fact. We got chiggers. We got a horrible case of chiggers. You know what chiggers are? They're those little bugs that start to bite you, and you get down in the, you get them from grass mainly. But boy, they just drive you crazy. So we were learning all about these different things, and they have bananas. They grow bananas there, and they also had coconuts. There was a friend that Barry met. They couldn't speak each other's language, but they became friends. There's the name of the place, Ave Oro, which I think, what does that mean? Gold bird? Is that what that means? Possibly. Anyway, this is swimming in the ocean now, And these are not guests there. These are natives, people who worked at the hotel. So like I said, there weren't any guests at all. There's Barry out there on that surfboard. Actually, he was doing a good job. Then I switched back and had to take a picture of the peacock. Anyway, now we're taking a boat out to an island. I think it was called Cane Island, and we were going to do some fishing for some lobsters that day. There's Karen, and it was quite an adventure. Beautiful place. I guess we're not only getting lobster, but we're also getting some fish. I think that was a small barracuda that we found. And here I am. I'm up on this piece of property, and down below is the boat. I think we were messing around on this island, and the boat came to get us. There's all kinds of birds and various species of things. It was a phenomenal place to visit. I hear that Costa Rica has really become quite a tourist destination these days. Back then, there weren't that many people going there, but we sure enjoyed it and highly recommend it if you want to have some great adventures. There's more birds, a lot of birds there, different kinds of birds, a lot of animals. And what that is, I was going to say it's a Loch Ness Monster. Oh no, that was something else again. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's somebody diving. Maybe they're looking for the lobsters. We were promised some lobsters for dinner that night. So I think that's what they're doing, is they're looking for lobsters. You can see some of the buildings at Ave Oro. Here's Diane. She had to bring up a pail of water. I hope she doesn't fall down and break her crown. Yes, this was not. What have you gotten me into? You know, I like to turn on a water faucet and get water. I like to plug my hairdryer in. Unfortunately, nothing like that. And here was the standard mode of transportation. Oxen or yaks or whatever you want to call them, pulling a cart. That was it. There were no mechanical vehicles, no motorized transportation whatsoever. That was it. Wow. Just a different way to do stuff, that's all. It was very, very primitive, but a learning experience for everybody. Let's get back to that ocean. Barry got a surfboard, and he's out there learning how to surf and doing a pretty darn nice job, I must say. Oh, it's beautiful out there, and nobody was out there. Great waves. Oh boy, just a great time. Wow. Look at those waves. Incredible. The days were beautiful. Weather was great. Really enjoyed ourselves. Family vacation. Costa Rica. 1978 we left, came back in 1979. So long, everybody. Now we're headed for Panama. Hey, as long as we're down in that area, let's take the kids down and they can see the Panama Canal. So we went down to Panama City in Panama and stayed, yes, at the Holiday Inn Resort. There's our room way up on the top there, and the kids are up there waving, saying, here we are, right up here. See the water around the city. I've seen some pictures recently of Panama City, and I tell you, there is a place that has really grown. They've got lots and lots of skyscrapers now, high-rise buildings, apartments. It's really become an incredible place. But back in 1979, it was a lot sleepier. Now we're going to see the Panama Canal, take the kids there. This is a great adventure, and you can see one of the ships that are going through the canal. You're also seeing some of the various old buildings of that area of past bygone days, and it was quite an adventure. Yep, lots to see here in Panama City, Panama. I believe that Mr. Noriega was the president of the country. Was he back there in those days before he went to jail? Not exactly sure about that. I've got to check on that. Boy, that looks somewhat ominous. Yeah, take a good picture of the junkyard while they're burning stuff. There's Diane and Karen, and pretty soon we're going to be headed back to the U.S., but not before we take a nice visit. And I see the sun's going down, which means it must be about that time for us to go back to the United States. and the end of the vacation to Costa Rica and Panama City. We all had a great time. Is it over yet? Well, I'm not sure. No, we got to fly back. Can't be over till we get back, right? Taking the plane back and seeing all the sights along the way, all the various not tornadoes, but volcanoes. See all the volcanoes down there, and all the sights of Central America as we head back for Miami and the end of our journey. Great trip though. There's our plane, Costa Rica and Panama, and back to Miami, where we say, so long everybody, we're here, and we had a great time. So that's it. It's the end. Thanks for watching.